Now look, let's go back and start off with where this vote leaves the government, of course, and indeed the Conservative leadership contest. To guide us through that, we have Steve Baker, chairman of the ERG and self-styled hard man of Brexit, and Rory Stewart, the International Development Secretary and a declared candidate for the party leadership. Welcome, both of you. Rory Stewart, if we could start off, your proposition, your form of compromise that you're putting forward is precisely what's been rejected by Parliament and the electorate, isn't it?
So, yes, you're right. There are three choices here. You can go for a no-deal Brexit, you can push for revoke, or you can try to get a deal through Parliament. And I believe that the other two are a recipe for uncertainty and delay, and that although getting a deal through Parliament feels at the moment like the most impossible thing in the world, it's actually the surest way of getting this done, and it's the constitutional way of getting it done.
You really think there's any possibility of still getting this through Parliament? I mean, why did Theresa May resign if that was the case?
Well, I have huge respect for the Prime Minister, but I think, and I was the last Cabinet Minister sitting on the bench with her when she made her final speech when everyone else had left her. But I don't think even her greater allies would say that her great strength was compromise negotiation. There were too many red lines. People weren't imaginative enough. If I've learnt anything as a diplomat, or in Iraq or Afghanistan, it is that you need to negotiate and compromise. And that's reaching out to people like Steve, but it's also understanding that this is a divided country, and you do not resolve a divided country by going to one extreme or the other.
It doesn't look like a divided field for the leadership, because almost everybody else is saying we need to have no deal back on the table. That's the way the party's going, isn't it? I mean, that's the inexorable consequence of what Nigel Farage has achieved with the Brexit Party.
It's what he's trying to achieve. I think Nigel Farage is deeply wrong. I think a no-deal Brexit would be damaging and unnecessary. I think a no-deal Brexit would be deeply divisive. And I think a no-deal Brexit would be very difficult to get through Parliament. So people promising no deal are promising something that doesn't work and that I think will lead to uncertainty and delay, even if they delivered it.
Is there something about your candidacy of positioning yourself for maybe the next leadership contest, to be the I told you so candidate, the person who comes back when the party suffers a defeat at a general election and says, no, I've been consistent to my principles?
No, I believe that I can convince the Conservative Party that the way to, in brutal Conservative terms, the way to deliver Brexit, the way to beat Jeremy Corbyn, the way to reunify the country, is by getting a deal, by compromising. That you can't bring together a country which is split straight down the middle on an issue like this by going to one extreme or another. So I respect the referendum. I'm a Democrat. I also, as a Democrat, respect the fact the majority of people in this country do not want a no-deal Brexit. And trying to impose that on the country would, I think, be damaging, lead to delay, because you'd still have to get a future trade deal. I mean, what people are not being honest about is that you go into a no-deal Brexit, you then have potentially years of trying to get a future trade deal from Europe or the United States following that.
All right, Rory Stewart, thank you very much. Well, let's pick up on the no-deal point. I mean, it's rejected by Parliament, isn't it? It can't get through, surely.
Well, it doesn't need to get through. So Parliament already voted to exit without a withdrawal agreement if necessary. When Parliament passed an act to give the Prime Minister permission to notify our withdrawal, the terms of Article 50 were perfectly clear. They're easily understood, that you left as it was, under 2 years, with or without a withdrawal agreement. Now, of course, that was subject to extension.
It is the default option.
But it doesn't need, the point is, it does not need an act of Parliament to make it happen. Now, Parliament can vote. Parliament chose to vote.
All manner of things could happen, couldn't they? Like a no-confidence motion in the government.
It is true that
even some Conservative MPs might be minded to join.
That means that the new leader, whoever it might be, needs to hit the ground, not just running, but sprinting, and ready to go to a general election with their plan for its exit.
You really want a general election,
no,
having got 14% on Thursday?
I absolutely do not want a general election, and actually I think it's rather ludicrous that some of my colleagues are now suggesting that their first rebellion might be the one that puts Jeremy Corbyn in power. But if they're going to threaten it, if we're going to survive as a Conservative Party, if we're going to regain the voters who we've lost, then we need to be ready to take this country out of the European Union. But I would just say, I of course do want a deal. There's a lot of nonsense being talked. No deal's not an end state. Rory's quite right when he said moments ago that we need to have a free trade agreement. I want to deliver a relationship of the character that the European Union offered us in March last year for the whole UK.
Let's roll forward with the scenario that you put, not your ideal scenario, but if you have to move into general election mode in short order, Would you favour some sort of compact with the Brexit Party?
So
Electoral deal, not to contest certain
just,
seats.
if I may, just to rewind slightly, my preference would have been to rescue the withdrawal agreement, which is why I put so much effort into what became known as the Malthouse Compromise. But that's, of course, now in the past.
Well,
so I would have preferred to have rescued the withdrawal agreement and exited smoothly into a relationship of the character they offered us. But I'm not proposing a pact with the Brexit Party, no, because I would like to avoid it. But I think at this point, the reality is...
Well, they're going to prevent you getting any kind of workable numbers, aren't they, on the current showing?
There's no doubt in my mind that if the Brexit Party stood in Wickham in a general election this year, that I would lose and the Labour Party would win.
And still you're saying you'd like the next Tory leader to call a general election?
No, that is absolutely not what I said, Mark. What I said is that you've got to be ready. If people like Philip Hammond are now implying, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's never rebelled, is now rather ludicrously implying that he would bring down the government and install Jeremy Corbyn, rather than allow to happen what was recently government policy, then if they're going to threaten that, then you've got to be ready to counter.
Sorry to butt in, but let's go back to your preferred option of trying to conclude a withdrawal agreement on a revised basis. Should Nigel Farage be part of that? That's what he's asking for.
So I think it's probably now too late to conclude a revised withdrawal agreement. I think this withdrawal agreement is dead. I think if there's one thing you can take out of these results today is that there's no mandate for the withdrawal agreement. The Tory party campaigned on the withdrawal agreement, and it was very clear that we've just been smashed for doing so. So we can't resurrect this withdrawal agreement. What I would say is there's a wide range of contingencies have been put in place by both sides to try and deliver a standstill till the end of the year. That can be extended. We can notify jointly, if there is agreement, a standstill in our trading arrangements, no tariffs, no quantitative restrictions, for up to 10 years with a temporary free trade agreement while we negotiate a full FTA. We've got the text ready. We've got an Irish border.
I'd love to thrash out a deal
Mark,
that could get
this is so
both of you.
important. We've got a free... The people I sort of shoal with and have produced a free trade agreement, a border protocol for Ireland and a defence and security treaty, and we're ready to go.
Steve Baker, Rory Stewart, thank you so much. Sorry to cut you off, but time is very limited.